I've been taking pictures when I was very young, I think. I don't remember what age. I started by painting and drawing. And for me, photography was a mean of drawing, and that's all. Immediate sketch, done with intuition, and you can't correct it. If you have to correct it, it's the next picture. But life is very fluid. Well, sometimes the pictures disappeared, and there's nothing you can do. You can't tell the person, oh, please smile again, do that gesture again. Life is once, forever. I'm not interested in documenting. Documenting is extremely dull, and journalism, I'm a very bad reporter and a photojournalist. Kappa told me, when I had an exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in 1946, he said, Henri, be very careful. You mustn't have a label of a surrealist photographer. All my training was surrealism. I still feel very close to the surrealist. But he said, if you're labeled as a surrealist photographer, you won't go any further, you won't have an assignment, and you're going to be like a hothouse plant. Just forget it, do whatever you like, but the label should be photojournalist. And Kappa was extremely sound. So I never mentioned surrealism, that's my private affair. And what I want, what I'm looking for, that's my business. And I'm not a reporter, it's accidentally, it's on the side. If I go to a place, it's to try and have a picture which concretizes a situation, which in one glance says everything, and which has the strong relations of shapes, which for me is essential. For me, it's a visual pleasure. You know, it's a rhythm, the way the head falls here, this goes back. There's a rhyme between different elements. There's a square here, a rectangle, another rectangle. See, it's all these problems which I'm preoccupied with. The greatest joy for me is geometry. That means a structure. You can't go shooting for shapes, for patterns and all this, but it's a sensuous pleasure, an intellectual pleasure at the same time to have everything in the right place. It's a recognition of an order, which is in front of you. Like on this picture, the portrait of a grandmother and the little girl, it's all these relations of curves, of design, of lines. The difference between a good picture and a mediocre picture, it's a question of millimeters. A small, small difference, but it's essential. And if I take the picture from there, it's another arrangement of there, there, there. And it's very small moves I'm doing. I'm not jumping up and down. It's a relation between your nose, your eyes, the window behind. And that's my pleasure to establish these relations. And sometimes there's no picture. All right, there's no picture. Photojournalism. It's a way of noting. Well, some journalists are wonderful writers and others are just putting facts one after the other. And facts are not interesting. Facts are not interesting. It's a point of view on facts which is important. And in photography, it is the evocation. If you evoke, comment ça se dit évoquer? I don't know, some photographs, it's like a Chekhov story or a Maupassant story. It's a quick thing and there's a whole world in it. Photographs I care for, it's a photograph that you can look more than 2 minutes, but it's extremely long. But a photograph you can look at over and over again, not many, not many. The most difficult thing for me, it's a portrait. It's very difficult. It's a question mark you put on somebody, trying to say, who is it, what does it amount to, what's the significance of that face. And the difference between a portrait and a snapshot is that the portrait, the person agreed to be photographed. It's not at all like somebody you see, you catch in the street, up like this. I like to take people in the, how do you call that, environment, the animal in his habitat, yes. And it's fascinating coming in like this in people's home, looking at them. But you have to be like a cat, not disturb. On tiptoes, always on tiptoes. But certainly it's like a biologist under his microscope. When you study, everything doesn't react the same way as when it's not studied. And you have to try and put your camera between the skin of a person and his shirt, which is not a very easy thing. And the attitudes of people are so different in front of a camera. Some are embarrassed, some are ashamed, some hate to be photographed, and others are showing off. And you feel people very quickly. You see people naked through the viewfinder. You see them stripped naked. And it's sometimes very embarrassing. And I remember I had to take for Vogue a very, very old lady, Bostonian, wonderful old lady. She smiled at me, but a sort of smile that you can't smile back at her. She wanted to check on the picture before publication, and I said, I'm sorry, I've never done that. It's a question of trust. And she agreed. She said, oh, my wrinkles. And I told her it's the only interesting thing, the wrinkles. After all, it depends how they fall, which is true. It's life. It's a mark of life. It depends how people have been living, and all this is written on their face. After a certain age, you've got the face you deserve, I think. Usually, when taking a portrait, I feel like putting a few questions just to get a reaction of a person, talking as little as possible. But still, you must establish a contact of some sort. Whereas with Ezra Pound, I stood in front of him for maybe an hour and a half. In utter silence, we were looking at each other in the eyes, and I took maybe altogether one good photograph, 4 other possible, and 2 which were not interesting. It takes about 6 pictures in an hour and a half, and no embarrassment whatsoever. Sometimes people ask how many pictures you take. Do you take many pictures a day? How is it? Well, there's no rule. Sometimes, like in this picture in Greece, well, I saw the frame of the whole thing, and I waited for somebody to pass. And I snapped 2 pictures. One was an Orthodox priest with his cylinder hat, and the little girl. Well, the little girl was exactly the thing in relation with the other shapes, whereas him, it was something clumsy. It was another conception. And sometimes there was not a second choice, because the people are gone. That's why it develops a great anxiety, this profession. Because you're always waiting, what's going to happen? What? It's what? Yes, like this. It's all the time. You're shooting, you say yes, maybe yes. But you shouldn't overshoot. It's like overeating, overdrinking. You have to eat, you have to drink, but over is too much. Because by the time you press, you arm the shutter once more, and maybe the picture was in between. It's a fraction of a second. It's an instinct. In photography, you've got to be quick. Like an animal on a prey. Like this, you grasp it and take it, and people don't notice that you've taken it. But it's a question of awareness. Everything in your body is there. That's beautiful. For me, it's a physical pleasure, photography. It doesn't take much brains. It doesn't take any brains. It takes sensitivity, a finger and 2 legs. But it's beautiful when you feel that your body is working, that all like this, full of air and in contact with nature and so on. It's beautiful. Boom, got it. You see? I'm extremely impulsive, terribly. It's really a pain in the neck for my friends and family. I'm a bunch of nerves, but I take advantage of it in photography. I never think. I act quick, like this, and you have to forget yourself. You have to be yourself, and you have to forget yourself, so that the image comes much stronger of what you want and what you see, if you get involved completely in what you're doing, and not thinking. Ideas are very dangerous. You must think all the time, but when you're photographing, you're not trying to push a point, to explain something, or prove something. You don't prove anything. It comes by itself. The first impression is essential. The first glance, the shock, the surprise, it jumps at you. You nourish it by your own life, by your taste, the intellectual luggage that you carry, your experiences, your love, your hate. It's to live fully and richly. And poetry is the essence of everything. It's 2 elements which are suddenly in conflict, and there's a spark between 2 elements. but it's given very seldom, and you can't look for it. It's like if you look for inspiration. Nothing comes, and it's by enriching yourself and living. Say, I wait for the top pictures, for great pictures. Well, it's seldom you make a great picture. You have to milk the cow quite a lot and get plenty milk to make a little cheese. I don't know what it means to be dramatically new. There's no new ideas in the world. There's only a new arrangement of things. Everything is new, every minute is new. That means re-examining. Life changes every minute. The world is being created every minute, and the world is falling to pieces every minute. Death is present everywhere, as soon as we're born. And it is a very beautiful thing, the tragic, comment ça dit, le tragique de la vie, what is tragic in life. Because there's always two poles, and one cannot exist without the other one. So these tensions I'm always moved by. This picture I like in a way. I was driving in Greece, in the mountains in the north. There was a child on the road. He was keeping goats. I don't know, I waved or something, and suddenly he started walking on his hands. There was such an exaltation, such a joy in that barren country, that dust road. I like English people very much. And it's the most exotic country for a Frenchman. It's the biggest difference. It's go to England, see English people even now. How can I say politely? When I'm in England, I feel like I'm sitting in a very comfortable armchair, and I'm looking at the stage and all these actors. I can applaud them, but I've got this set of rules, wonderful, but I'm not supposed to step in and jump on the stage and play with them. You see? It's like this. You look at the play, and you shouldn't applaud too loud, and I enjoyed it tremendously. I think everything is interesting if you're scratched, but at the same time you can't just photograph everything you see. There's some places where the pulse beats more than others. After the war, I don't know, but I had a feeling that going to colonial countries was important. What changes are going to take place there? That's why I spent 3 years in the Far East. I was in India just at the death of Gandhi, after the partition between India and Pakistan. And it's to be present when there's a change of situation, when there's the most tension. And I've been living in India for about a year, even more. And problem of demography, immensity of space, of people, preoccupied me very much. I like to live in a place. I don't like to go for short. Rodin said something, what is made with time, time respects it, or something like this. I spent in China the last 6 months of the Kuomintang regime. I watched it falling to pieces. And I was there when the communists arrived. I stayed there another 6 months. The Chinese have always been between a chaotic and a stern and puritanical regime. Through centuries it has been from one to the other. I was very lucky to be just at that change. A tradition, and what remains of a tradition, and at the same time what is a revolutionary attitude and another conception of man. To interest people on faraway places, to shock them, to delight them, is not too difficult. But the most difficult thing is on your own country. You know too much. Well, when it's on your own block, there's such a routine. It's quite difficult to get out. When I'm going to the butcher, in places where I'm all the time, I know too much and not enough. And to be lucid about it is the most difficult. But your mind must be open, aware like this, like having a radar, a searchlight, or like this. And that's why anybody has done 10 good photographs in his life. What is interesting, it's a consistency, to keep on. It's always re-examining things, trying to be more lucid and freer and go deeper and deeper. I don't know. Because a camera is a weapon. You can't prove anything, but at the same time, it is a weapon. It's not a propaganda photography, not at all. But it's a way of shouting the way you feel. I love life. I love human beings. I hate people also. You see, the camera, it can be a machine gun. It can be a psychoanalytical couch. It can be a warm kiss. It can be a sketchbook, the camera. And even for me, that's strictly my way of feeling. I enjoy shooting a picture, being present, and it's a way of saying yes, yes, yes. It's like the last 3 words of Ulysses of Joyce, which is one of the tremendous works which have ever been written. It's yes, yes, yes. And photography, it's like that. It's yes, yes, yes. And there's no maybe. All the maybes, you should go to the trash. Because it's the instant, it's a presence, it's a moment, it's there. And it's a respect of it and an enjoyment. It's a tremendous enjoyment to have seen yes. Even if it's something you hate, yes. It's an affirmation. Yes.